Hello and welcome to TopShelf Books. If you're joining us for the first time, hopefully we'll be adding some new books to your TBR, as well as introducing you to some things kind of off the beaten trail. You are always welcome to visit me at Books in Piles on Tumblr, where you can see things that are piled into my TBR. One of my Tumblr pals requested one of these episodes to be dedicated to books about dogs. And since I live in a house with oh so many cats, whom you'll be meeting in this episode, I had to do an episode about cats as well. So, welcome to episode 9. Everybody wants to be a cat, or at least everyone wants to read about them. Cats have been with humans for a very long time, and if you are watching as well as listening, I've included for you a manuscript in which you can see that a cat has walked through the ink of the person writing. So, kind of an ancient indicator of cats getting on the keyboard, so to speak, as they do now. So, I wanted to begin with the origins of cats, some books that cover that. Um, the first one I want to mention, Leaving the Wild by Ehringer, isn't just cats, it's all the sorts of animals that we have domesticated, so cattle, horses, dogs, but cats are included among the list if you actually consider them to be domesticated. They don't consider themselves to be domesticated, and you can read about the sacred history of cats in When Cats Reign Like Kings by Gahan. A book that's a little older that's been around for a while is The Tribe of the Tiger by Thomas, and this looks at the culture of cats, and we'll be talking more about cat culture as we continue forward. And then I want to mention 3 books that deal with cat history, Revered and Reviled by Vassell, looking at the history of the domestic cat. A Cat's Tale is sort of tongue-in-cheek because it's narrated by a cat narrator. If you want something a little more scholarly, then you want Classical Cats by Ingalls. So this is the rise and fall of sacred cats and how cats have developed alongside human culture. All right, so although we are a bookcast, I do like to include visuals, and for this particular episode, you may want to watch along because I'm going to introduce you to the beauties in my life. This is Rasputin Evgeny Karkanomov, who has a giant Russian name because he is a Russian blue, and the closest I could come to my last name was Karkadimov, so that's what he got. Razzie unfortunately passed away at the age of 18, but he was my first cat and the reason that I love cats so well, so I couldn't not honor him in our discussion today. There are so many books on the background of cats, so many. So I have included for you some older classical texts like The Natural History of Cats by Necker and The Penguin Handbook of Cats, as well as the more recent 9 Emotional Lives of Cats by Mason. Mason does lots of natural history books. He also has a similar title on dogs. So if you enjoy his work, there is a lot out there for you to read. A book that is forthcoming about cats, Wallen's True Tales and Life Lessons from a Purring Companion. Did I mention that there were so many books about the background and history of cats? I've included a few here just because I wanted you to see how beautiful the covers are. So the Book of Cats by Ross and Cats and All About Them by Simpson. You can perhaps hear a cat snuffling in the background. That is Samantha, who you will meet later. She just wants to be included in our podcast today. Cat Sense by Bradshaw is one of those classic books that if you are a cat lover, you're going to see it pop up in lists. And then I also wanted to include a book of cats, literary, legendary, and historical perspective. There are a lot of books that cover this territory as well, but Stewart's is particularly nice. The second cat of our discussion together, this is Corby who we actually call Beeple. I wanted to name him after Jim Corbett, but his name has somehow devolved into Beeple. He and his sister Samantha, who you probably just heard, they were left by their mom on our doorstep. And I thought that I was going to be a responsible adult, and I made them a little house, and I thought their mom will come back for them, and thought I'm not bringing them in, right away because I wasn't sure if they could be separated from their mom. And I got up in the middle of the night and I couldn't find the love of my life. And I'm searching and I'm searching. I find him asleep on the garage floor with the kittens. And that was when I knew that Samantha and Beeble were home to stay. Now that we've covered the background and history of cats, we should turn to the science of cats. If you have a cat in your life, let me recommend to you the Encyclopedia of Cats. It has wonderful information for healthcare. This one's in my vet's office, and that's how I was introduced to it. And my veterinarian said that she just likes to page through it from time to time. The Domestic Cat by Turner. This one's been published in several editions, and it's one of those sort of classical educational texts for cats. There's also Cats, Their Points and Characteristics by Stables. Cats Are Not Peas, which is looking into genetics. It's not entirely about cats, but I like the title so much that I wanted to include it for you. Cat Watching by Morris. This is sort of fun information about why cats do the things that they do. And then The Character of Cats covers similar ground. This is Budiansky. So plenty of science to dig into if you want to know why your cat acts like a cat. I've already mentioned that cats have accompanied us through our history. When I did a similar bookcast on dogs, you can find dogs in different roles in different spaces just based on the role that they play for human beings. But cats have been with us just about everywhere you can imagine as well. So Cats Who Changed the World is an excellent title. Trim the Cartographer's Cat. The Catmen of Gotham, Seafurs, so cats on ships, and Mrs. Chippy's Last Expedition. All cats living alongside humans, making their mark on history. Perhaps one of the sillier or stranger things that I include in my nightly prayer is the hope that all creatures, human as well as animal, come to some form of a home. It breaks my heart to think that there are people who do not have a place where they feel welcome, and animals that are in shelters or feral or stray. So I wanted to include some books that cover those types of animals as well. So Carolyn Paul in Lost Cat traces what it is to lose and find animals and the hope that we have and how we negotiate that. In An Unlikely Cat Lady and Call of the Cats, you have authors talking about making the acquaintance of feral cats and how those animals changed their lives, how they tried to improve the lives of those animals. If you want a more academic view of those same type of cats, those cat colonies, then Free Ranging Cats by Spot is a good place to look. And cats, of course, are very social creatures. They have shifting hierarchies, shifting dynamics. And one place that we might not think to see that is the cat shelter. So cat culture, the social world of a cat shelter, can introduce you to the sort of relationships that cats form when they are all forced to be in the same space. And here's my little noisemaker of the night. This is Samantha. She is Beeble's sister. She is sassy. And for some reason, she wanted to be part of tonight's show. I've included 2 pictures of her here because I wanted to show you that she did consider Razzie to be her boyfriend when he was with us. He was not sold on the idea, but she was pretty insistent that that was the way things were going to be, and he was a gentleman about it all. To continue our discussion of ferals and strays and shelter pets, maybe you have had the experience of finding or rescuing kittens. If you have not and ever find yourself in that situation, allow me to recommend Hannah Shaw. Her book, Tiny But Mighty, talks about how we can save and protect little guys when we find them in the world. The Great Sicilian Cat Rescue looks at getting cats off of the streets. To Catch a Cat looks at rescuing stray kittens. Shadow Cats, Jensen's book, looks at cats in the city, as does Urban Tales. It's going to look at alley cats. Again, it does break my heart that there are creatures in places that are not necessarily suited to them. Domestic cats are domestic cats, right? They aren't wild. They aren't meant to be in spaces. So if you have the opportunity to help bring a creature in to a shelter or in out of a space that it should not be in, I personally have found it very rewarding. I have a house full of them. And of course, once you have brought cats inside, whether you have adopted them or whether they have been feral or strays and you have given them a good space, then you want to, of course, give them all the good that you can. So several books that can help with that. The most recent on the list is Todd's Purr, The Science of Making Your Cat Happy. The Cat's Meow looks at the evolution of cats, but also how we can use our knowledge of that evolution to make our pets happier, more comfortable, keep them entertained. A humorous title, The Cat Personality Test. Yes, I've done it. It's fun. It's humorous, but it does help you think about what can you do for your cat based on their personality. And of course, if you've had a cat in your life, you know that they have so much personality and that they all have different personalities. Famous cat lovers through the centuries gives us examples of others who have done so much for their pets. And then Cat Sense by Bradshaw looks at what he calls feline science so that we can, of course, marshal that science in service of our creatures. Even as I am recording to you, my cats have found a ping pong ball and they are trying to make it known that they are here and that they wish to participate in tonight's episode. So if you hear any ping pong balls, that's what's happening. This is Miss Puffin. We found her in a bush. She called out to us, and when we took her to the vet, they x-rayed her and said that she was starving and had been surviving on sticks and twigs. So we are very grateful that we found Miss Puffin and brought her into the family. She is our mildest, gentlest, sweetest cat. More books to give your cat a good life. What Cats Want by Hattori, by a cat doctor. The Lion in the Living Room is again about that cat evolution, but how we can use that evolution. And a similar title covers similar ground, The Hidden Language of Cats by Brown, The Secret Language of Cats by Schultz. And then I really like The Inner Life of Cats. This one I find really gives good insight into why cats do the things they do, like crash ping pong balls around when you're trying to record something. Cats have a special place in the world of philosophy, perhaps because they manage to look so philosophical. I really want someone to write a meditation book for cats, right? How to meditate with cats. Mine are not good to do yoga with at all, but maybe meditation. So there is the book Feline Philosophy, Cats and the Meaning of Life. Spoiler alert, cats think that they are in fact the meaning of life. One that was recently published, Sit in the Sun, is Spiritual Wisdom from Cats. There's that ping pong ball if you were waiting for it. If you are more religious, Proverbs for a Cat Lover's Heart. There's What Philosophy Can Tell You About Your Cat. Again, spoiler alert, that all things are about cats. And of course, The Karma of Cats. So we can glean a lot of spiritual wisdom from our furry friends. A novel that walks over that same philosophical ground, spiritual ground is the Dalai Lama's cat. Very, very cute book by Michi. And then 3 titles that help us embrace a cat mindset, because who doesn't want to embrace a mindset that sleeps 16 hours a day? Think Like a Cat by Johnson Bennett, 100 Ways to Be More Like Your Cat by Haddon, and then What Your Cat is Thinking, Soderstrom. And this one kind of dovetails with some of the other titles we've looked at, because it does sort of promise to help us understand why cats do what they do. There's my ping pong ball again. Why are they doing this? They've had all day to crash into things, but now is apparently the time. So what they're thinking, so that we can give them the things that they need. I try not to do any soapboxes at you while I am talking about books, because I am not here to persuade you of any particular view, but just to suggest titles that you might want to bring into your life. But if you know anything about cats, you know that people have very strong opinions about the damage that they can do to the natural world, to the local ecosystem. So I wanted to include some books about the discussion that surrounds the need for domestic cats to be inside. Again, they are domestic, not wild. So there is Cat Wars by Mara, Cats and Conservationists, Indoor Cat, which is about enriching the life of your cat if you are keeping them indoors, Among the Pigeons by Reed, and Unnatural Companions by Christie. Now, I do want to do a little bit of a trigger warning with these particular books. If you are a cat lover, you are going to run into some information in these books that is disturbing, both in terms of the damage cats can do, but ways that people have answered the threat that comes with stray cats, feral cats. So something to keep in mind if you are wanting to go down this road. All right, something a little more lighthearted, graphic novels and comics. Something that I am really grateful to the manga industry for is that more and more Japanese titles are being brought over and translated, which was not the case 5 or 6 years ago. So we are seeing more and more titles that previously I would not have been able to read, and a lot of them are about cats. I love a good cat comic. So if you are wanting some science fiction cats in your graphic novels, there's Lucy's Jonesy. There's Cat Plus Gamer, which I believe has gone into its 3rd volume. I'm behind. A Cat Story is geared towards younger readers, but still very cute. If you're wanting something a little more gothic, Creepy Cat is hilarious, but it does have some horror movie vibes, so just be aware. There's the Story of 7 Lives, which is about stray cats kind of enacting their influence on individuals and how they can help them. And then I've saved the best for last. If you have not read A Man and His Cat, go right now, order the 1st volume. I love Fuko Maru so much. I wish he was real. I want to hug him. If someone knows how to get me a plush Fuko Maru, please let me know. I love these books, and they keep coming out, and that makes me happy. There's several volumes and more to come. I just want to keep talking about Fuko Maru. He's so adorable. I do want to mention before I go on to my other graphic novels, it's not adorable only because of the cat, but the main character is an older gentleman. He's dealing with loss. He's putting his life back together. So it really can be very poignant as well as cute. Some other graphic novels and comic books that focus on cats. Of course, we have to mention Garfield. I still love Garfield, even though he's been produced and overproduced. If you want something a little more horrific, there's Night of the Living Cat, as well as Yawn and Moo. Yawn and Moo is interesting because it's realistic horror. It kind of creeps around the edges. Penny by Stevens is a graphic memoir from the point of view of a cat, and then there is the series Strayed as well. All right, that wraps things up for our cat episode part 1. Oh, there is a part 2. It is coming to a YouTube channel near you. But here are today's titles. There are so many cat books. I couldn't possibly cover them all, not even in a 2-part episode. But if you think there's something I missed that is essential, as always, please let me know and I will add it to the list. As always, remember to support your local library, your local indie booksellers, your local booksellers if you're lucky enough to have them. And if you are looking for particular books, cat related or not, please let me know and I will be happy to help you find them. And I would love to feature them in an episode. So if there's a topic you're interested in, please do let me know. Let us take just a second to appreciate the fact that as we conclude, my cats have decided that they are done crashing things around because now I am not talking nearly so much and they do not need to compete for your attention. Our final titles for today. Hopefully you found something amazing. I lied, they are still crashing around. Hopefully you found something amazing to add to your TBR, something that you are excited to read. As always, thank you for allowing me and my loud cat crew to spend some time with you. I hope that you found something that you are looking forward to reading. I would love to hear from you regarding books, regarding cats. Yeah, just make that noise that my cats are making. You can reach me at navalianlibrary@gmail.com.